they're back in early August. So they're only fighting it basically in August. They're not fighting it in the late spring, early summer. But schools with football programs like that we've done, Lafayette and West Point, it's simply a management of the teams and the players. And you're slightly more vigilant than you would need to be on a grass field. But that vigilance has gone up dramatically in the last 20 years because of some of the notable heat stroke issues that have occurred in the country. So that's an issue that people watch for much more closely than they used to.
In safety, with respect to safety in general, on your page 25 of 30, you say that due to the fact that infield synthetic turf fields are typically immune to the factors that can serve to make a playing field unsafe, the risk of serious injury will likely be reduced significantly with an infield synthetic turf field. So now here you're taking into consideration all of the safety and health aspects relating to natural fields versus synthetic fields. But it's just a declaration, and I can't tell from that what factors what your analysis is.
There's been a lot of studies on the safety of synthetic turf, and what they find that it's very much equivalent in injury rates and types of injuries to both types of the infills are similar to natural grass. Where you have your differences is in a condition like in Maplewood here, where if you're playing on a perfect grass field and a synthetic field, you're going to have similar injury types, similar frequencies depending on the sport and so on. But in a situation where the fields where you're going to have a dry condition and then a wet condition and a muddy condition, the synthetic field is going to outperform that field when it's dry and dusty. It's going to outperform that field when it's wet and muddy. So that's where you gain. The consistency is where you gain the safety factor with synthetic.
Spell that out a little more. Why does the consistency of use result in greater safety with respect to leg injuries or any other kind of injury?
Well, primarily because, for example, if you take Gmax, which is a measurement of how hard your head hits a turf, or how you measure that by dropping a ball on the turf, essentially like a shot put. But in any case, if you're playing on a frozen grass field, that's like falling on concrete. If you're playing on synthetic, that doesn't freeze. It's going to have that same resiliency that it had when it every other time you played on it. If you're playing on a wet, muddy field, you're going to get a lot more slipping, leg injuries, things like that. Synthetic field, while it can be wet, is going to dry off much more quickly and not be muddy. So your footing is going to generally be better. So that's where I'm saying the consistency of the synthetic gives you a great advantage.
And take all the factors relating to safety. Take the mud or absence of mud. Take the concussive effect of the give in the field.
Yeah.
Take the heat that you mentioned. Take all of the relevant factors. And what's your opinion? Synthetic turf versus natural grass. Which is safer over the playing season?
Synthetic turf should be significantly safer.
Okay. Let me ask you something about. You had a section here. Oh yeah, environmental impact on page 22. Now we know that there's some things you don't consider here, which are relevant. For example, synthetic turf has to be manufactured, so that's going to give rise to some waste products that could be considered to be impacting the environment, maybe not locally, but regionally or somewhere. We're not taking that into account here, but just with respect to the locale, insofar as we're considering the material itself, the synthetic material, I think I'm gathering from your statement here that you found in your research no pollutant or emission effect that's dangerous from the field itself. Can you support that with any data?
Yeah, you do, like any, this is made out of the same material as, for example, your sneakers, or your tires, the rubber. The carpet is a polyurethane, which we've all put on top of wood, or we put it in our paints and so on. And the polyurethane backing and the monofilament fibers. Monofilament fibers are fishing line. So just like any carpet in your house, there is some outgassing going on from the rubber when it's new, from the carpet when it's new. Difference you have, so you can't say there's no impact, but what you can say is that this is happening in a completely ventilated outdoor place. So any outgassing is going to dissipate immediately, whereas in a house, it's not going to dissipate until the ventilation circulates it once.
Is there any reason to believe that the outgassing from the turf would be different from the outgassing from home carpet?
The outgassing from your home carpet is going to outgas a little bit different because that's a lot more nylons and different fibers. This is purely just the monofilament, which is not nearly as exotic as what may be in some of the carpets, especially with the stain things they put on them and all that.
So you're saying that we encounter outgassing in our homes that is potentially more problematic than
absolutely, yeah. And there's no question.
Okay.
If you leave your carpet outside for a couple of months, then bring it in, you'd be all right.
Yeah, I got a few. I want to get back to the disposal question, which you seem to imply was pretty much negligible. And tell me if I'm wrong here, but some of the research that I've done indicates that the sand and rubber, which indeed, when you get rid of the field, as you indicated, it goes to a landfill, you're talking about 1,600 tons of that material.
Right.
Gary, just so you know, when we come back, if you can get an idea of how much it would cost, just for the purposes of working it into the overall cost of this over the life. And then I wanted to talk about the life of the material. You're using a 10-year as your assumption.
Yes.
Is there anywhere around here we can see a 10-year-old state-of-the-art?
Bergen Catholic is the oldest one I know of. That's might be around Newark somewhere.
A little louder.
I'm sorry, Bergen Catholic's the oldest one I know of, and I believe that's in
Oradell.
I toured it, but I don't remember if it's over in New York or
It's
over
Oradell.
here.
It's in Oradell, New Jersey.
It is? Okay,
Yes.
I thought it was in New Jersey. Yeah, thanks.
And that's a 10-year-old field. Do you have any?
It's not quite 10. It was like 98 or 97.
Okay. Is that the same technology? Because I know this technology
Essentially,
has changed.
except everybody's switched over from what was a different poly fabric. Everyone's gone to the monofilament. There used to be this polyethylene that split as the more you vacuumed it and rolled it, the more it would split and the finer the fibers would get. The monofilament is supposed to last longer. It's only been out for about a year and a half now, but there's studies, where they try to age it rapidly.
Have you seen the one that you referred to recently? The one that's almost
I
10?
saw it about 3 years ago, and we've got several that were put in 2000 that are 6 or 7 years old now.
Any of them that have the same type of intensity of use that we're talking about here?
Oh, yeah.
And they're in municipal settings or just in high school settings?
High school, yeah. The oldest ones I've done were in high schools. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in 99, 2000, and they're still going strong.
Okay. Let's see. Actually, I've got a couple of questions on some of the numbers in your book. I just want to make sure I understand. And I think that they refer to the cost numbers that you have over there, which I can't see, but I assume they're the same numbers in the book that are in the book.
Well, they're similar anyway.
Right.